Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Community Starcraft 2. I'm your host, Sidewinder, and I'm going to be showing you guys an interesting game between this Protoss player whose name is Venom, and he's the red Protoss player spawning at the top of the Shattered Temple. He's going to be fighting Shade, who is the blue... did I say red Protoss? If I didn't, I meant red Protoss. It's a little late. He's going to be fighting Shade, the blue Terran who's at the bottom of the Shattered Temple. And Venom is displaying some really weird actions with his probe here. For those of you that are lactose intolerant, you might want to turn away because we may be seeing some epic cheese. I actually casted this replay only because it was off of a request from one of my friends. And they basically told me that this is a pretty funny game, so we're going to go ahead and check it out and see what happens. There's a supply depot going down on the low ground for Shade, and Venom drops a pylon right in range. Wow. This is one of the most odd starts I've ever seen to a game. Now, to give you guys a little bit of background on these players, this is a Masters level replay, and if you ever see this scouting information from Terran, it means Marine SCV all in almost every time. And I cannot believe Venom is this gutsy. He's throwing a gateway right down in front of the barracks. This is seriously the weirdest thing I've ever seen from a Protoss player. Usually when you proxy like this, you're going to want to proxy like on a hidden location, but this is crazy. He's just proxying right in the Terran player's face. And the Terran player was actually going for cheese of his own. So that's what makes this really hilarious. This is like cheese fighting cheese, and now a forge is coming down from Venom. Forge and a gateway right in front of the Terran base, right on his buildings. I mean, his gateway, or his barracks, is surrounded by Venom's buildings. They're both trying to attack each other's supply depots, and Shade is trying to attack the pylon to put an end to this. There's two more barracks going up here on the high ground, as we can see from Shade, in order to try to repel this as soon as possible. But if Venom gets any cannons up, this is going to be a fast end to this wall, and then Zealots will just run right up in here. This is almost like a backwards version of what you would do to cheese the insane AI if you needed to beat them. Venom's throwing down another pylon so he can power all of his buildings and still power his cannon. This is really hilarious. Venom is just relying on nothing but micro at this point, and chrono boosting out Zealots. If he gets this cannon started, this is going to be really bad news for this Terran player if any of his Marines get in range of that cannon. The cannon is now up. It's shooting on these Marines. You can see it takes them out in 3 hits, which is pretty fast. It's going to kill this SCV. Another cannon is going down here. They're all these Marines are trying to focus down this pylon. It's nothing but a micro battle here, like we said. The wall is now open, and here comes Venom's cannon rush. Is probably going to advance right up into the main, but he cannot place a pylon down where he wanted to, as you saw it ghosting there. The Zealot cleans up those Marines. 4 kills on the Zealot. Here come a bunch of SCVs in order to try to stop this, but they're going to be coming right into cannons, which is perfect from Venom. If Venom could use a little bit of mineral walk micro, he'd get out of this situation with these probes, but he does not, and he loses that probe. So the cannon rush is going to be at least delayed. This barracks is on fire and has to retreat up to the high ground and land here at the top of it. This supply depot is now in the amber. Another barracks is being shot down by these cannons. Zealots come in here and start wasting Marines, but these Marines are trying to micro away from the Zealot. They should kill it without taking any more losses, which it does. This supply depot is going to go down, and it will supply block the Terran player, who did not prepare by putting down another supply depot of his own. So you can see this is one of these situations where if you're Venom, you just try to run in there and put him in a terrible situation and make him react to you. This is one of the craziest cheeses I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anybody just build buildings right in the face of their opponent, right next to their buildings. Especially when the Terran player was going to go for a cheese of his own. This is really, really funny stuff. The Terran player is really falling behind because he's not dropping any more buildings, and he's not using up his minerals. He's not producing SCVs at this point, which he probably should, and he should really throw down a bunker here at the top of his ramp in order to help prevent all this. He is doing good work by getting the spotting down for these pylons, but this cannon does outrange these Marines, so I don't think the Marines will be able to find a good angle to shoot this pylon without getting hit by the cannon. Oh, never mind, I stand corrected. The Marines will be able to shoot the pylon down. Here come 3 more Zealots, and he should have really closed off his wall here earlier to prevent these Zealots from coming up. But the Zealots are going to fall back, fearing they will die to those Marines and not be able to put out enough damage. The spotting here is going to end for Venom. Venom is going to be able to contain his fellow Terran player here with all these cannons, and these Marines are going to have a hard time breaking out of this. They will be able to kill this cannon since it cannot spot. One funny thing that Venom can still do is run his Zealot, just kind of poke it up the ramp a little bit if he starts shooting at this cannon, so the cannon can return fire. Here come the Marines down. They're going to start microing in order to try to kill these Zealots. Zealots pick off 2-3 Marines. He should have been focused firing on the weak Marines. Now the Marines are foolishly going to try to run in here and take down this pylon. I don't think they're going to get it before the cannons clean them up. You can see how fast cannons kill Marines. So that was a little bit of a bad response, but this Terran player has got to be completely on edge considering he was going for a cheese of his own, and he got super cheesed by just, you know, this is like the stinkiest cheese you've ever seen in your life. This is like blue cheese aged by about 10 years. Bad kind of cheese. Meanwhile, Venom is keeping his production going pretty well. He's now throwing a robotics down in his main. He does have a lot more workers than the Terran player, 25 to 12. The Terran player did take some losses from these cannons when he tried to run his SCVs over there, so that definitely helped Venom out. But at the same time, the Terran player finally decides to throw down a bunker in order to kind of stay in his base and be protected from all this. But we'll see exactly what else happens in this game. I mean, it can't get much crazier than this game has already started off to be. Stalker's coming up here to try to poke at these Marines and kill Marines if it can. There's a free kill for it, and the Stalker runs away as to not die in exchange for that Marine. Venom's contain is still on here, and in order for Shade to break out of this, with all these cannons here, he's really going to need to set up some tanks, which he is putting a factory down, and he is starting a tech lab, likely to swap the factory with this barracks onto that tech lab. Back in Venom's base, normal stuff coming up here. There's actually a robotics bay coming up, so he is going to be putting out a Colossus to put an end to these Marines, which is a really great response. Terran player is continuing to call down mules and create SCVs. If you're Venom at this point, it might be wise to expand to keep your economy well ahead of your opponents and not let them get any avenue to catch up. A couple more gateways coming up here for, or rather one more gateway coming up here for Venom. At his main, these Stalkers retreat, assuming that once the Terran player gets what he wants out, he's going to be able to bust this contain, considering tanks are a very real possibility. Siege mode is on the way, of course. A starport is now in production, possibly for medevacs to get these Marines out of here safely. But we'll see exactly what he decides to go into. Colossus is now started along with extended thermal lance. Warp gate tech is now finally started about 10 minutes into the game. It's a little bit late if you're on standard timing, but there is absolutely nothing standard about this game. So game's finally slowing down just a little bit. To give you a little bit of background on these players, more specifically Venom. Venom is a poster on the Battle.net forums, and he's notorious for his cheese. He cheeses almost every game, and he comes up with the most hilarious cheeses, and this is one of those. I wasn't originally going to cast anything from Venom because he did not send me anything, but I was talking to another poster on that forum who was talking to me about Venom and saying that Venom had a recent game that was hilarious that he posted that that involved, you know, crazy cheese that I really needed to see. So I took a look at it and I just decided, you know what, if it's supposed to be that good, I'll just go ahead and cast it. And here we are. Out comes a Raven for the Terran player, not for the Protoss player. Obviously, it would be cool if you could get Ravens as Protoss, but a Raven's coming out for the Terran player. And in terms of supply, Venom is holding a very slight lead. The Colossus is going to come out and be pretty good against these Marines. There's now a second Colossus in production. Actually, he already has 2 on the field, so my mistake. This is going to be the 3rd Colossus in production. And it just depends on, again, I'd really like to see Venom expand behind this so that he can keep his economy rolling and really crank out the units that he needs. He's actually still floating quite a bit of minerals, but he's behind on gas, which is why another reason why you'd want to expand, because there's 2 more geysers down here just asking to be mined, especially on these close positions and especially when you have the Terran on a contain. Out comes the Raven. I'm not really sure what it's going to be doing right here except for possibly spotting for observers. He also did put it down a turret, possibly fearing either Dark Templars or observers. So Terran player is recovering fairly nicely right now. In terms of economy, Terran player is still only about 20 workers, so obviously really thrown off by that cheese, or possibly just not practiced getting into macro games since he was going for a cheese of his own. But we'll see how these guys recover. And again, this is a Masters League game, so They did show up as masters when I took a look at their accounts from the replay file, and yeah. Anyway, back into Venom's base. There are 3 Colossi on the field. A 4th one is coming. You have to think that Venom has the superior force on the field right now. He's supplementing this with Zealots, a couple of Stalkers, but this is a really heavy Tier 3 army that, frankly, these tanks just will not be able to put enough damage out against before the Colossus just roll them over if that straight-up engagement happens. Venom is now starting to push out now that the container has been cleaned up. So the Terran player can expand right now if he wants to, or just go for a counterattack. These tanks have a long path to get out of there since they're so fat, but they are making their way out. Nothing really unusual coming out for either player. Stim is now finally on the way. Again, 15 minutes into the game. He is sticking with Marine, Tank, Raven. But here comes Venom's army. He is ready to finish the job that he started. All these Colossi push up, and they will just melt these Marines once the Marines decide to engage. And there you go. Marines are falling so fast. Tank siege. Venom should be focusing his fire on the middle of these units if you possibly can. Point defense drone is out, intercepting all the shots from these Stalkers, but wow, these Colossi just roll over those Marines, and definitely going to end this game, considering I could not see Shade putting anything out to counter these Colossi at this point. One Colossus does fall to that missile turret, so a little bit of a sloppy play there by Venom. He's now switching into Marauders, Tanks, and Marines, but once again, there's nothing out that's going to be able to get damage on these Colossi fast enough to take them down. Both these barracks are going to burn to death and explode. Of course, we always keep explosives inside our barracks just in case they get lit on fire, so they will have a spectacular explosion. Shade does leave, and that was insane. That was one of the weirdest cheeses I've ever seen in my life. Just barricading your opponent in, even though they're going to cheese you back. Wow. I don't usually cheese, but watching cheese is always funny, especially when the cheese doesn't work. But in this case, it was cheese versus cheese. One cheese has to win, and I swear I'll stop saying cheese because I'm sure you're sick of me saying it. But funny game there. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any comments you have down below. I'll be back for more casts, and if you're one of those people that has sent me one of your games and you're waiting for me to cast it, I will, but I have a huge laundry list of games that I want to cast, and I've been having a lot of computer trouble lately, considering it's been doing nothing but rendering and uploading videos. It's probably going to explode on me one day, but hopefully not, at least for the sake of my legs, considering my computer is right next to them. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll be back soon with more casts. I'll see you guys later.